I never thought I'd be the kind of person this would happen to, you know? Like, you always hear these horror stories about relationships gone wrong, and you think, that could never be me, I'm smarter than that. But here's the thing about trust. It makes you blind to the red flags right in front of your face. And trust me, there were so many red flags I should have seen. My name is Sarah, and 3 years ago, I was planning my dream wedding to a man I thought I knew everything about. His name was Marcus, and on paper, he was perfect. Successful tech entrepreneur, charming, attentive, and always so interested in every little detail of my life. Looking back now, that last part should have been my first clue, you know? But when you're in love, you mistake obsession for devotion. Big mistake. It started with something small. I was looking for my phone charger one morning, digging through the drawer in our bedroom, when I found this tiny black device wedged behind some old receipts and rubber bands. At first, I thought it was just some random tech gadget of Marcus's. He always had weird little electronics lying around because of his work, but something about it felt off. The position was too deliberate, too hidden, you know? I turned it over in my hands, examining it carefully from every angle. That's when I saw the lens, a camera lens. So small, you could barely notice it unless you were really looking. My heart started racing, and I felt this cold sensation spreading through my chest like ice water. "Marcus?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady and calm and normal. "What's this thing I found in the drawer?" He appeared in the doorway within seconds. Faster than usual, I noticed. His eyes locked onto the device in my hand, and for just a split second, maybe half a second, I saw panic flash across his face. But then he smiled, that easy, charming smile that had made me fall for him and everything. "Oh, that? It's a prototype from work, security camera stuff. Must have fallen out of my bag, actually. Thanks, babe." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. So I pushed that uncomfortable feeling down deep and tried to forget about it. But once you notice one thing, you start noticing everything else too, right? Over the next few weeks, I became hyper aware of our apartment in ways I'd never been before. I started seeing these tiny objects everywhere, objects that didn't quite belong or seemed oddly placed. A smoke detector in the bathroom that looked newer than the others throughout the place. A digital clock in the kitchen positioned at a weird angle toward the table. A decorative picture frame on the bookshelf that seemed to face slightly wrong. I felt like I was going crazy, like paranoia was eating me alive. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched constantly, always. Every conversation, every moment alone, every private second felt somehow exposed and violated. One night, Marcus had to fly out for a business conference in Seattle. He'd be gone for 3 days. 3 days I decided to use wisely and carefully. The moment his Uber pulled away from our building, I started searching everywhere. I found the second camera inside the smoke detector in our bedroom, just like I'd suspected. The third one was in that decorative picture frame in the living room space. The fourth one was hidden in a decorative plant near our dining table. But what broke me, what absolutely shattered my entire world, was the camera I found inside our bathroom mirror. The mirror I stood in front of every day, vulnerable and exposed. I sat on our bathroom floor and cried for what felt like hours that night, not just because of the cameras, but because of what they meant deeply. This man, the man I was going to marry in 3 months' time, had been violating my privacy in the most intimate ways imaginable. But why? I called my best friend Maya, and she came over immediately, without hesitation. Together, we documented everything with photos and notes. We counted 17 cameras total throughout our apartment. 17 different angles of my life, my privacy, my most vulnerable and personal moments. "We need to call the police," Maya said, her voice shaking with barely contained rage and anger. "This is illegal. This is so incredibly wrong on every level possible." But I needed to know why first, before taking any legal action. I needed to understand what could drive someone to do this terrible thing. So I made Maya promise to wait, just until Marcus came home. Those 3 days felt like 3 years while I waited anxiously for him. I acted normal via our text messages and phone calls, pretending I didn't know anything. It was the hardest performance of my entire life, and trust me. Every "I love you" felt like poison on my tongue as I said it. When Marcus finally came home, I was ready for the confrontation ahead. I'd set up my own recording device, ironic, I know, because I needed evidence of whatever confession or excuse he was about to give me, you know? "We need to talk," I said calmly the moment he set down his bags. His face changed instantly, like he knew exactly what was coming next somehow. "Sarah, let me explain." "Explain what? Explain the 17 cameras you've hidden throughout our entire apartment? Explain how you've been secretly recording me for how long, Marcus? How long have you been watching me like some kind of experiment?" His shoulders slumped, and for a moment, he looked almost relieved, actually, like he was tired of carrying the secret around inside him everywhere. What he said next made my blood run completely cold, though. 3 years, he admitted quietly, his voice barely above a whisper now. "I've been documenting our entire relationship since our 3rd date together, actually, Sarah. I know how this looks, but you have to understand something important. I'm a researcher at heart. I've been creating the most comprehensive study ever on modern relationships and their development. It's incredible work, really. It is." I stared at him like a stranger, because he was, really. "A study? You've been treating our relationship like a science experiment this whole time." "Not just a study," he continued, and I could hear excitement creeping into his voice now. "I've been running an online channel, The Relationship Experiment. 15,000 subscribers, Sarah, and they're all following our journey together. The engagement, the fights we've had, the makeups, everything. I've been anonymizing our faces and names, obviously, but the content, the raw, authentic footage of a real relationship unfolding, it's incredible to watch. People are learning so much from us every day and night." My hand flew to my mouth as nausea rolled through my entire body. "You've been sharing footage of me online? Of us? Of our private, intimate moments? Anonymized," he repeated, like that somehow made it better or okay. "No one knows it's actually you, Sarah. And think about the good we're doing here together. Couples everywhere are benefiting from our authentic interactions. The comment section is full of people saying they've saved their marriages and relationships. Doesn't that mean something important to you at all?" I wanted to scream, to throw something at him right then and there. Instead, I took a deep breath and asked the question I needed answered most. "The bathroom, too?" His silence was answer enough for me to understand everything clearly. "Get out," I said quietly, my voice deadly calm despite my racing heartbeat. "Get out right now before I call the police on you." "Sarah, please." "Now!" I screamed, and finally, he left me alone at last. The next few weeks were a blur of police reports and lawyers. Meyer connected me with an attorney who specialized in privacy violations and digital consent issues specifically. Turns out what Marcus had done was very illegal in multiple ways, clearly. Recording someone without their consent in private spaces, especially bathrooms and bedrooms particularly, profiting from someone's image and likeness without permission or any kind of agreement, the list went on, with violations everywhere. But here's what really got me. When the police tracked down his channel, I watched some of the footage myself, and it was worse than I had imagined it would be. So much worse than anything I expected to see, honestly. He hadn't anonymized everything like he'd claimed at first. Not really at all. Sure, our faces were blurred in most videos he'd posted online, but our apartment was fully visible in every single frame. Our voices weren't disguised or altered at all. Personal details about our lives, our families, my job, everything. It was all right there for anyone watching to see and hear. People in the comments had already started trying to figure out who we actually were. Some had come pretty close to the truth of our identities, too. The worst video I watched showed me crying in our bedroom after a miscarriage I'd had 2 years earlier, one of the most painful moments of my entire life. And there it was, packaged as Episode 47, Dealing with Loss in a Relationship. The comments below were a mix of sympathy and analysis, people discussing my grief like I was a character in some reality show instead of a real person experiencing real pain and real trauma. I threw up after watching that particular episode, unable to handle it completely. My lawyer assured me we had an extremely strong case from the start. And we did. Marcus's lawyer tried to argue that it was for educational research purposes only. They tried to claim implied consent since I'd never explicitly told him not to record me in our home. Can you believe that logic at all? But the evidence was overwhelming in my favor from every angle. The hidden nature of the cameras proved deception and malicious intent clearly. The profit he made from sponsorships and advertisements on the channel showed commercial exploitation. And the intimate nature of the footage violated wiretapping laws and privacy rights in our state explicitly. 8 months later, we settled out of court for an amount I can't disclose legally, but it was significant enough that I never have to work again if I choose not to, which is something. The channel was permanently shut down completely. Marcus faced criminal charges too, though he ultimately got a plea deal. Probation, community service, mandatory therapy, and a permanent restraining order keeping him away from me forever. But money and legal victories don't heal the psychological damage done, you know? I felt violated in ways I still struggle to articulate properly, even now. Every relationship I'd tried to have since then has been colored by this deep distrust I can't seem to shake off completely. I check for cameras everywhere I go now, constantly. Hotels, friends' apartments, even public bathrooms when I'm out somewhere. It's exhausting living this way all the time, always suspicious of everyone and everything. But I decided not to let what Marcus did define me negatively forever. Instead, I turned my experience into something purposeful and meaningful for others. I started a nonprofit called Private Lives Matter, focused on digital privacy rights and personal boundaries in relationships specifically. We educate people about consent in the digital age, particularly. We lobby for stronger privacy laws and protections for everyone everywhere. And we provide resources for other victims of similar violations like mine. I share my story publicly now, not because it's easy to do so. It's not. Every time I tell it, I relive some of that trauma and pain. But I share it because people need to know this happens more often than anyone wants to admit openly. Technology has made it easier than ever to violate someone's privacy completely. Cameras are tiny now. Recording devices are cheap and widely available everywhere. And too many people, like Marcus, don't see anything wrong with documenting everything without consent. If you're reading this or hearing this now, please listen carefully to me. If something feels off in your relationship, trust that gut instinct immediately. If your partner seems unusually interested in documenting everything all the time, ask questions. If you find devices you don't recognize anywhere around you, investigate thoroughly. Your privacy is not negotiable under any circumstances ever, and consent isn't something anyone should assume or take for granted lightly. I'm healing now, slowly but surely, day by day and step by step. I've started dating again, cautiously, though I'm much more careful this time around. I've learned that love without respect isn't love at all, really, and trust without honesty is just a pretty lie wrapped up nicely. The man I was about to marry secretly recorded my entire life completely, but he didn't get to write the ending of my story, ultimately. I did that myself instead, and that makes all the difference in the world to me.